Hey everyone, welcome back to Service Unscripted. I'm joined again by Pat Burns, CEO of Dispatch. Hi, Pat.
Hi, Marie. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy to see you again.
Yeah, you
In our
bet.
last episode, we talked about how disconnected service networks create breakdowns across the operation. Today, we're talking about a challenge we hear from almost every team we work with. Once a job leaves your system, you're basically in the dark. You don't know what's happening, and you only find out when something goes wrong. So, one of those things that we hear all the time from enterprise teams is that they feel blind once a job goes out the door. What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what happens. It's a real problem and it happens fast. If they're not using the right tools, as soon as the job is assigned to a contractor, right, to an independent organization, the enterprise loses visibility. They don't know if it's been accepted, if it started on time, or if it's completed in real time. And most teams don't know if the job went off the rails until a customer calls to complain. At that point, it's tough to do something effectively about it, and they have that customer satisfaction problem. So, it's not just inconvenient, it creates SLA risk, customer friction, and internal fire drills.
Yeah, that makes sense. To make this a little bit more tangible, because this isn't just a system problem, it also shows up in how teams operate day to day. Wanted to talk a little bit about what it actually looks like on the ground. What are operation leaders dealing with in a hybrid or contract-based model?
Yeah, it's really inefficient and fragmented and chaotic, right? These teams are relying on emails, calls, and spreadsheets just to figure out what's going on. They're following up manually on open jobs, just trying to get status. They're spending hours tracking whether SLAs were met. Escalations come too late, so the support teams get hit hard as well. And again, they're dealing with angry customers without even the chance to prevent or expedite a solution to those problems. And then, even when they get some data, it's not real time. It's lagging and incomplete. It's happening at the end of the week or the end of the day, or sometimes even, more latent than that. And so the team is reactive, not proactive. And they're working hard, but without that visibility, they're managing in the dark. And of course, we know, that makes it really difficult to provide consistently high quality service. And to make that even more complicated, often they don't even have enough provider capacity to keep up with demand. So it could be seasonal spikes, long-term growth. It could be urgent, high-severity work orders, but they need to scale that network fast. And onboarding new providers takes time as well. And so once they bring them in, how does the brand assure that they're actually following their service standards?
Mhm. You mentioned visibility, and I'm wondering why visibility is so hard in these models, and why can't existing systems give leaders what they need?
It's pretty simple. They're just not purpose fit for non-dedicated labor.
Mhm.
And so, they assume that everyone's using the same application, working inside the same company. Most traditional FSM platforms are optimized for control as opposed to coordination. But when you have a distributed network of providers, you need that coordination, and that requires a different kind of system. You can't enforce SLAs, you can't track your performance or deliver a consistent experience if you're not connected in real time. And the second you depend on those contractors, the tools you have stop giving you the full picture.
Yes, I think that's where service orchestration comes into play, and wanted to talk a little bit about that and how that changes this picture. What makes it work? What makes service orchestration work for enterprise teams that don't have full control over their network?
Yeah, the real important thing it's connecting all of those pieces together effectively and with harmony. Orchestration really gives the enterprise full visibility across the whole job service lifecycle without needing every provider to use the same system. You can see job status in real time, when it's accepted and scheduled, when it starts, when it completes. And if something's falling behind, you're alerted before the customer even notices. So, you get performance data across the network, region by region, provider by provider, technician by technician, even. And you can use that data to improve assignment, training, and coverage. And all of this really happens without adding friction to your providers. One of the really key things is that a service orchestration platform meets them where they are, and it's built to work with them, not against them.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm curious what this looks like in practice, and how does service orchestration give operations teams visibility and control across their service life cycle?
Yeah, we think about this a lot. So we've created sort of a conceptual model that we think helps define and provide understanding for service orchestration. We call the first pillar of orchestration grow, and this is really building a comprehensive network that's accountable from day one, right? You need to do this before you even start delivering work. And that's really about recruiting the right providers, not just who's local, but who is suitable for your operation, setting expectations up front during onboarding, planning for geographic coverage and redundancy, capacity. And then when that demand strikes, whether it's seasonal or growth driven, you can scale fast because everything is codified and automated already. And you don't need weeks to ramp up new providers, and you don't sacrifice your standards when you do that. Next
Mhm.
is manage. Really, that's the service delivery itself. Real-time oversight with automated exception handling, which is really important. And so it's assigning those jobs based on skill, availability, and performance in an automated algorithmic way, tracking SLA compliance and job progress live. So you really understand the disposition of the service footprint at any point in time. And then, importantly, getting proactive alerts and escalation workflows as they occur, as they emerge in the field.
Mhm.
Next is really when the tech arrives, sort of that curb to curb experience. And we call that guide. It's really getting clean, structured data directly from the field. And that includes a number of things, providing checklists and job steps that are easy for the techs to follow, validating that the right work was done before the job can even be closed, automatically capturing notes, documentation, digital content, and customer confirmations, and really just providing turnkey compliance and guidance for service delivery and business process. And then last is probably the most important, really. It's all of this activity is happening, all of this operational data is getting into the system. Then you need to analyze it, right? You need to turn your field activity into service intelligence and then use that intelligence to make strategic decisions. And that's a key part of the fourth pillar. So, see not just how your operation is performing, but why is it performing well or underperforming? Identifying trending performance patterns such as SLA compliance, slippage, or customer satisfaction variance, and then using those analytics to plan capacity, improve assignments, and raise your quality and consistency overall.
Mhm. Yeah, that all sounds like real game changers for people running a hybrid network. Curious in terms of that hybrid network that they're running, if they feel like they're flying blind, what do you want them to take away from this conversation?
I think I would boil down, the message in its simplest form to just being visibility is not optional because you can't manage what you don't see, and you definitely can't scale it. And so service orchestration gives enterprise teams the control and oversight they need, even if they don't own the entire workforce. It gives them the insight to act before something breaks, and it gives them the confidence and enablement to scale fast because they can grow the network without losing visibility or control.
Great. Next episode, we're going to shift focus to the provider because if they don't have the tools or support they need, like you mentioned, the service still falls apart. What should folks expect?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about what they really need to succeed. And we hinted at it a little bit already, right? You need to eliminate friction, meet them where they are, let them focus on doing what they do best, which is delivering great service. But, they need clarity, they need tools, and they need understanding. And service orchestration helps them perform better, which benefits the whole ecosystem, right? It doesn't just benefit them and help them grow, it's resulting in better delivery and value for the end customer. And then, of course, the long-term profitability and growth for the enterprise brand.
Great. Thanks so much. Can't wait to talk to you about it next time.
All right, see you next week.